Sinibusele sinimukele maswahla mahle Kusile breakfast show sethamuthini iphilile namhla ekuseni. Thank you for joining us. It is the 13th of February 2024. My name is Lungelele Makakola. Good morning and welcome. I'm with my co-host Umguni Shumnabil. How are you this morning?
I'm doing very well. I just realized ukuthi kusasa Valentine Lungelele tinfo tena ndijabulelako.
One day to go.
Yeah, ngiyathokoza thina squad lo thina sibuke emagani kule nyanga lena. Kodwa nje ndawujabula nani kusasa ngilokweni lo. I'm very well. I can't complain. Ngilele kahle, ngivuke kahle. We thank the God Almighty for keeping us. And, excited for today's program because today is World Radio Day, which is quite an important day. UNESCO, it is a radio as a powerful medium to celebrate humanity in all its diversity. And we have a couple of radio stations that we continue to celebrate and really recognize as important mediums to do exactly what the UNESCO says radio does, celebrating humanity in all its diversity. It's also a great platform, a powerful medium as well for great discourse in terms of entertainment as well as nation building. Sifuna ke ukukhulumisana na Fisiwe Vilane, who is the Consumer Affairs as well as Communications Manager at the Eswatini Communications Commission. Njengoba ke bangibola ba regulator texhumana lapha even ekuthenini basa regulator nje la belihlangothi lwa radio engabe enzima labayidlalako lapha even ingakanani in entertainment, in educating, in nation building, and in celebrating diversity and humanity in all its ways. Sitawukhulumisana naye ke Fisiwe Vilane. Ngantsi ke sitawufuna nekutsinza nje kancane indzaba lenkulu lesiyibone litolo, the premier of the land, Russell Miso Dlamini, announcing the task team lebekeloke kutsi itawukulwa nenkhohlakalo, fighting corruption lapha eveni, assisting the ACC as well as government. And we did hear that it will report directly to the Prime Minister's office and then bese ke kuthelelana nelihhovisi ke lelitiko laka justice. Yafuna ke kuyiva kabandi leyo ndzaba leyo khona lamuhla.
At gender-based violence. At the end of the year, National Prayer Service, His Majesty did call on all Maswati to join hands in putting an end to gender-based violence. He also urged Maswati to continue the fight until there is not a single case. He repeated this call when opening a parliament and also emphasized Goguti, we must remove this dark shadow of violence that is hovering over our society. Tikhona-ke tinhlangano tibambisa hulumende ekulweni ne-GBV letfaka ekhatsi umkhankaso 1 billion rising iswaka ekwakha indvotsana netinye nje tinhlangano futhi ke kukhona netinhlelo labatendako kwanzisa lwati ngakokuhlukubeteka ngetebulili. Namhla will be joined by Xolani Hlatshwayo, who is country director ka 1 billion rising campaign. 1 billion rising again is one of the organizations that do community visits kuyovisisa kahle ukuthi ingabe timbangela tekuhlukubetana ngalolu hlobo yini nekuthi tisombululo kungaba yini kuloko. Xolani Hlatshwayo will be joining us lamhla ekuseni after 6. Kumanje asibuke nathi lethamba imbili kumaphephandzaba. Let's look at 8 times of Eswatini. There was a scramble after a truck spilled sugar yesterday at Elopeni Egamanzini. The Prime Minister unveils task team after King's directive. Corruption cases to be now dealt with. The anti-corruption task team is mandated to investigate handover cases to DPP with immediate effect. We look forward to Bobabuli ukuthi babanjwe lihuka baye ebhodweni ngokusho kwa Prime Minister. The AG uthi CJ ruling is not binding and it will not affect a task team. Human rights lawyer says what will change now. Kuletinye thamba imbili K9 gang members throat slit in gruesome murder. Salt sparks ritual fears at ENFRES headquarters, and MSF offers 0.5 million Malangeni scholarships.
Kutemidlalo, the leading headline, the unexpected always happens following petition over Mxolisi Mkhondo's Jwaneng Galaxy transfer. United Eswatini diaspora makes startling allegations against joining Galaxy's recruit. Interesting story. The Ingwenyama Cup birds keeper flies closer to 10,000 Emalangeni prize. Bavane Swallows goalkeeper Sandanezwe Sanda Matabela during Sunday's Ingwenyama Cup game against Peak Rangers. Kulenyeke door open for Messi to play at Olympics. This is a developing story in London where Lionel Messi has an open invitation to play with Argentina's Olympic squad this summer, according to the RB Celeste under-23 coach Javier Mascherano. Williams wins AFCON's Best Keeper Award. Those are the leading sports headlines, Times of Eswatini this morning.
Leading headlines on the Eswatini Observer. Prime Minister sets up task team to fight corruption. He wants Bopabuli arrested while Minister invites public to report corruption. Kulenyele Hambayembili, MP calls for party debate on child support. In other news, civil servant salary review is next year. And Kulenyele Hambayembili, salt sprinkled on the floor alarms fire staff.
Fans clamor for Mbabane Derby. They want security forces teams to play against each other. The leading headline, we're sorting Observer Sports, followed by other stories with the Highlanders to salvage themselves among last four. Despite the exceptional action and drama that came with the Ingwenyama Cup, it has already presented the exciting last four, with only Mbabane Highlanders yet to lift the Reach Trophy. Mouth-watering league games this weekend. Fans will be turning their attention to their favorite top-flight clubs as the MTN Premier League will be in full swing this weekend with mouth-watering encounters. Ikhona-ke ifixture lebese iyalandzela to complement that story lapha phasi ku-Eswatini Observer.
Moving on to the Eswatini Daily News, King renews call to end GBV, and the Premier launches anti-corruption task team. Blanyele Hambayembili SA returns to Stone Age with nationwide power cuts. More on page 2.
Close to 300,000 Emalangeni collected in Ingwenyama Cup quarters, which is a good turnout in quarter-final double-headers, yield desired fruits for teams and Premier League of Eswatini as over 4,000 tickets were sold in the past weekend. Another story says Nsingizini faces Swallows in league return in what is going to be a very interesting game. Hansgate Marathon world record holder dies in a road accident. A very sad story there. And that's it for the leading stories this Tuesday morning.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Ujala masoda mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu
Sifile sive sikhulume.
Siphindze sinamukele ehlelweni imfica imizuzu ukubumbene insimbi yesithupha sitawe thabelati indzabate siswati Mhlonishwa Mvunankhulu Russell Dlamini sawumemetele libandla lelitawulwa tenkohlakalo eveni i-Anti-Corruption Task Team lefaka ekhatsi ke lehhovisi lemphathi wemaphoyisa umcondzisi webashushisi kanye ne-Anti-Corruption Commission akhuluma emahhovisini etindvuna tembuso eMbabane Mvunankhulu ucelene lehhovisi lemcondzisi webashushisi kutsi liwabeke embili amacala enkhohlakalo. Mapalane wePhalamende Benedict Xaba uthi iPhalamende itawuchamuka netindlela tekuvikela lakuleli kanye nemtsetfosisekelo walo ngekuthi emhlanganweni nemave emhlaba ichaze kabanti ngenchubo yelakuleli. Xaba ukusho lokho ngesikhathi yakhuta lwandle ngenkhulumo letfulwe inkosi Mswati wesithathu uma ivula sigaba sekucala sePhalamende yelishumi.
Mapalane wePhalamende Benedict Xaba uthi iPhalamende angeke ihlalele ukuthi ize igcekwe ukuthi ichazele emave ngalelive.
Nyalo sithi sithatha iPhalamende siyise emaveni ekutheni nje uma emalungu ePhalamende njalo wade ukuthi sinemakomiti sine Pan African Parliament, so lamalunga ePan African Parliament nawo atawutholwa ukuthi ati kabanti ngeconstitution, ati kabanti ngale system yelive, kuthi makahambile ukuthi kunemhlangano wePan African Parliament bangamele ukuthi kuze kukhulume laba kodwa kufanele bentana kuthiwa ngema-side meetings laba atawukhuluma khona ngeconstitution yelive, bakhulume kakhulu ngale system yalo live, bakhulume nje ngalo lonke le live, kanjalo nalabakhona ekomidini ka-IPU makunemhlangano bo-Switzerland akufuneki nje ukuthi bahlonishwa baye bayohlala kodwa kufuneka balungisana kuthiwa ngema-side meeting nakhona ukuthi le kubo-Geneva njalo sitawuya khona kulamalanga mabefika bawaqele emave la kupresentwa khona ngelive ukuthi Eswatini isebenta kanje, tinkundla tisebenta kanje, i-monarchical democracy isho naku nanaku, labanye uyawubeve base-Eswatini kude ne-constitution. So kumcwa kakhulu lokuthi i-constitution yethu vele siyimakethe sisho this is the best constitution emhlabeni. Kanjalo tonke inhlangano sibo SADC PF bo African Union njalo kunemhlangano lesade usukhona lodaka African Union akamele ukuthi siyelena kuze kuchamuke imbuto kodwa siyiPhalamende asivele sihambe phambili sigijime sithi nkwe.
Xaba uthi iPhalamende itawuchubeka nekufudzisa emalungu ePhalamende ngekuhlukaniswa kwemandla wemkhono lemithathu yahulumende lokuyiPhalamende iJudiciary kanye nelibandla letindvuna tembuso kude lokho lokushiwo emakhosi kutofezeka etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla isePhalamende.
Kulandzela ukuthi isilo semhlaba sethule inkulumo ngedinguquko lekumele tibe khona eveni ilitiko lemisebenti lemikhulu nekutfutsa libonga lenkulumo lapho lithi kungumanje lisetinhlelweni tekwenta siciniseko ukuthi yonke imigwaqo lemkhulu yelive ifakwa litiyela nekulungiswa kwaleyo ke lebonakala ingekho esimeni lesikahle.
Lumo lethulwe silo semhlaba nasivula iPhalamende lishumi ngebumqoka bekutfutfukisa takhiwo. General omkhulu etiko letemisebenzi lemikhulu nekutfutsa Vincent Dlamini uthi leli tiko lenta konke lokusemandleni kucinisekisa ukuthi yonke imigwaqo yelive iba yelikhethelo.
Laba welibhange la African Development Bank balithembisa live ukuthi imali tekwakha lo mgwaqo bangakhona ukusiboleka. Kusho ukuthi kutawube kubambisene ne-African Development Bank abambisene nahulumende wase-Eswatini ukuthi uthuthuke lo mgwaqo leyo kwesifundela. I-update ye-feasibility study phinde futhi ende ama-detailed designs emgwaqo losuka eSpiki uye eBulembu uphinde futhi usuka eSpiki uye eBulanzeni, so naloyo utawulandzela ufakwe litiyela nawo. Naleminye ke imigwaqo lesifise kuyisebenta sisakhulumisana nelitiko letemafa ukuthi nayo ifakwe esikundiyela emva kwale migwaqo lemibili noma lama-projects lamabili lesemabalile lokufaka ikhathi imigwaqo lesuka lapho koLikaganeni uyawushona lena eKhanyeni uze ufike eLuve lesithi md29. Phinde futhi leminye imigwaqo lesibheke ukuthi ingene kulo 400 kilometers le umgwaqo losuka eSithobelweni uye kaHlatsi lesithi ngema-25. Uphinde futhi namgwaqo losuka Maloma khuphuke eNkudzeni uye eMbulungwane nawo ugcina uphelele khona kaHlatsi. Phinde ke nemigwaqo losuka laphana ePhondo ubheke eBhunya noma-R18 nakhona lokwendiwako siyawusebenta labo sowumubi khona kakhulu nje sokhanza sengama-potholes lagcina ende ukuthi bashayeli badabe kwavika bese kudaleka ingoti. Siyasebenta nakhona lapho nje kune-contractor on site iyasebenta. Siphindze-ke sesibuyela emgwaqweni losuka eMotshane uyesipiki nakhona kunemisebenzi lesitabe siwenda nje masinyane sisahlanganisa leti mbebha takhona ukuthi khonakala ukuthi sithole contract ayosivalela ama-potholes awulungise kahle lo mgwaqo loyo ukuze kuzokhona ukuthi uhambeke.
Kuthuthuka kwetakhiwe kakhulu imigwaqo yiko lokutawukhanga abahlengeli idimali kufukule nemnotfo welive kude leSwatini likhona kuncoba buphuya ngeminyaka wa-2030 lobika-ke etindzabeni ngusindiswa Zwane Anasonto Mlangeni eMbabane.
Umphathi wenkampani yahulumende lethuthukisa abalimi i-Eswatini Water and Agricultural Development Enterprise Samson Sithole uthi kuboshwa kwalabakhaldamu lempakeni angeke kuphatamise kuchubeka kwalomsebenzi. Sithole uthi umphathi lobuke kwakhiwa kwaleli damu umbikele ukuthi isikhathi lesitinyanga letinge-51 tekucedza lo msebenzi wekwakha leli damu lelibita 3.5 billion emalangeni sitawubanjwa.
Batholakale banganayo imvumo yekusebenta la even labang7 lo 8 lebe ngimveta bese kuthi supervisor wabo noma ke lo project manager yena unayo i-work permit ngako ke yena nguye lochubeka konyalo nekwenta imisebenzi lekhona leku project umbiko lenginawo lobuya ku project manager longiyena sibukele lo msebenzi lokungibafana mathebula uthi umsebenzi uyachubeka le nkampani yasakhalivated inebantu labenele emsebenzini ukuthi abangawuchuba yebo kona kube khona ukuthi kulokuboshwa kwalaba bekunene tisebenzi nje jikelele tabo tibe nekungabada ukuthi kodwa ngabe tiyavukela noma tivukela emsebenzini kodwa lokuvelile kube ukuthi HR noma human resource wabo uthi tebangete emsebenzini umsebenzi ukhona lokusho ukuthi uyachubeka umsebenzi msakati ngete ngathi ngoba uyachubeka umsebenzi ngalendlela lesengibeke ngayo uchubeka ngalesivinini lesifanele uphazamisekile umsebenzi kulokwentekile angeke vele uchubeke ngalesivinini kodwa ke liciniso lihle lithi le nkampani kusetuke emahlombe ayo ukuthi yente siciniseke ukuthi icedza ngalesikhathi lokuvunyelwe ngaso noma bese ivelelwe ngiloko uma engake yente lokunye kunetingcabekelwana letikhona lapha kule contract lesiyisayinile nayo letithi kumele ukuthi bese kuba khona ema penalty lewabhadarako nangabe ehluleka kwenta umsebenzi ngesikhathi.
Ingungu letawugcina gasolina letawakhiwa iphuza umoya itawudzinga imali lenganga 2 billion emalangeni. Umphathi walenkampani leniketwe kuchuba lo msebenzi i-Eswatini National Petroleum Company Nhlanhla Dlamini uthi imidvebo yalendzawo seyivele ikhona.
Seyakhanya indlela yekuthi live laseSwatini likhone kuba nengungu yegcina gasolina njengoba kungapheli tinyanga letisitfupha itawucala kwakhiwa. Umphathi wenkampani yeSwatini National Petroleum Company Nhlanhla Dlamini uthi-ke bayasemukela sicondziso sekwakha lesakhiwo njengekusho kwemakhosi.
I-NPC-ke vele i-mandate yakhe ngoba sathi ukuthi yakhiwa ngumthetho wa-2020 Petroleum Act of 2020 lapho khona uhulumeni wabona kuhle lokuthi akube nenkampani letawubuka ukuthi zabantu petrol kube disruption nekuthi simeke sure ukuthi kuba khona petrol event ungabe ne-disruption. So kule facility lesikhuluma saba sephuza umoya sitarget ukuthi itakwamba oil noma petrol wa 60 days which is 2 months. Sivele sitargetela ukuthi within 6 months besicalile sesakha iphuza umoya. I-project lesibuyela kusathatha 2 eminyaka, I mean 3 eminyaka. Njengoba sisho nje slightly over 2.3 billion emalangeni. Lesekwendile-ke inkampani yapetrol yahulumende ukuthi lama designs ayo le project sesinawo sekaphelele and we are happy with the outcome of designs. Nayo i-costing ukuthi sicabanga ukuthi costa malini sesinawo lokho. Lesi kufinalize kulamalanga itindzaba ukuthi sifune imali sethemba ukuthi angeke phele inyanga lesikhiwo singaka sekunegotiate nendzaba imali kule project ukuthi manje sitayifuna kuphi. Umsebenzi wayo ke sibe sitakhumbula ukuthi wasawaphala lenkampani uhulumende wasinika 35 cents upetrol ukuze sitawusebenzisa le mali leyo ku-full loan. So sisasele mali leyo ukuthi cha ngoba sona siqala siyayikoleka since 2020 sesikolekile imali I think khona nje sikhwameni slightly over 330 million emalangeni. Le mali leyo sitayisebenzisa ukuthi sibambise ngayo emabhange ukuze sikhone ukuthi sakhele sakhiwe.
Kubheke ukuthi lo msebenzi utene matfuba emsebenzi kusakhiwa kanjalo noma usachubeka. Edinzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni eMbabane.
Inkampani yetemagesi yi-Eswatini Electricity Company ikhuta lwandle ngemkhombandlela eNkosi Mswati wesithathu lenike sive enkulumeni yayo makuvulwa iPhalamende le-12. Le nkampani inike isiqiniseko ukuthi labo labasethe gesi batawuthola masinyane.
Njengoba sikhuluma nje siphumele phela ngetinkani ikakhulu kalavumisa kuzama kufaka gesi ekuqinisa umgogodlo wagesi losuka enhlangano yofeka kalavumisa ekhathi kwalowo msebenzi kokuthi kulabo lokhanza ukuthi bamphofu bede gesi emakhaya uhulumende usithumile ukuthi vele sibafakele leyo gesi kulabo bantu labo. Lokunye-ke le sisukumele edulu njengenkampani kokuthi vele si-investe kakhulu ekuphehleni gesi lapha eveni laKangwane kutoncipha lokuthi simthenge kubomakhelwane kuphindze kwentele kokuthi thina sihlale sinayo ngaso sonke isikhathi gesi solo sakhulumisana-ke nabomakhelwane bethu lapho la kufanele ukuthi si-renew ama-contracts khona kodwa asikemi lapho nathi-ke siyinkampani esisukumele edulu kokuthi sibuke letinye tingonde ukuthi lo gesi lesimphehlako eveni ungafaka ekhathi ini. Sicalile-ke sabuka-ke licwaningo lolukhona eminyakeni lophelile lolubuka ukuthi kukhona indlela lesingasebenta ngayo ngokuthi sihlanganise i-gas to power plant sesabuka-ke nalapho ukuthi sende combined cycle gas turbine power plant.
Emehlo sekabheke ekhulumende ukuthi atisebente tonke etinsaye yalomutse lathi atisenjetwe letifaka ekhatsi ukuthi kubete eLeswati lelishonako ngezizatfu sekuba bete elisito emtholampilo. Ngekusho kwemphatsi wenhlangano lesambulelo setinhlangano letitimele Themba Inkosi Dlamini le nkulumo ilethe lithemba kuletinhlangothi lebetikhombisa kuba netinkinga. Dlamini bekakhuluma ngesikhathi yabonga inkulumo yalomutse la yetfula ePhalamende.
Lesekusele nyalo ukuthi uhulumende bese wakha ama-plans ukuthi ufika kanjani kulesigaba leso ngokulungisa leto tintfo lebekubonakala titigwegwe. Kwesibili kuyabonakala ukuthi lo mkhuhlane lomkhulu wekuhlukebeteka kwebantu ngekwebulili i-GBV iyanza kakhulu la eveni ne-femicide lokuthi bantu babulalane ngoba bangasevani ngebu-partnership babo. Sibonile-ke ukuthi le speech sangwenyama sithinze kakhulu lapho saniketa uhulumende insayeya yokuthi akahambe ayoyisebenta le ndzaba. Siyathemba-ke ukuthi uhulumende utawuchamuka nema-plans langiwo langabuki nje kuphela ukuthi asikhulise kuphoyisa sikhulise ku-raise i-awareness ukuthi bantu bati ngalokho kodwa kubuke naletinfo letingitona tiyimbangela leyenta ukuthi bantu bese baphilisana ngalendlela yebulwane lenjengalena. Njengalokuthi njena esibayeni kukhulunywa kakhulu ngendzaba yemisebenzi. Bantu nabangatholi emathuba emisebenzi bangatholi inzuzo vele libese lolulaka liyancipha. Sithemba ukuthi uhulumende-ke utayisebenta le ndzaba ayibone ukuthi le ndzaba yakwakha emathuba emisebenzi imcoka kakhulu ukuze kunqotshwe lolubhubhane le-gender based violence. Kwekugcina-ke sekungaba ngilokhu kwaka-education. Lapho-ke ingwenyama ishilo ukuthi atichubeke tinhlelo tekuthi eMaswati afundziseke nalokuthi-ke sicabanga ukuthi uhulumende nako ukubonile ukuthi kunciphisa imifundzate ema-institution lafana nase-university akumsiti kakhulu uhulumende akuyisiti kakhulu i-university ngoba ibese nayo ayisakhoni ku-operator kuleli zinga lelifunakalako.
Litiko letisebenti nenhlalakahle yato likhutsata tinkampani ukuthi ticinisekise ukuthi tibhadala tisebenti tato ngesikhatsi ngale kwaloko titawubhekana nemitsetfo. Lisekela khomishana wetisebenti Kingdom Mamba livete loku ngemuva kwekutsi tinkampani ikakhulu leto tabogasi tikhandzakale ukuthi atitibhadali ngesikhatsi tisebenti tato.
Lolokunye-ke kokuthi atibhadalwa tisebenti emaholo
ngenhlanhla lenhle umthetho wethu umdzala ukhona 1980 i-Employment Act ya 1980 iyacriminalize kusho ukuthi ikwenta kube bucala kungaholeli nje disebenti nangabekisa noma ke kungathathi imali leyo lokumele uyithathe yedlela ntongeni noma ke ungabhadali disebenti leto imali kumele usibhadale dona umthetho kwakithi kwenta kube bucala la khona umcashi uyahamba ashushiswe kamanje magistrate court kuba ngumnyaka ejele nangabe shothi mhlambe noma ke kube ngu-3,000 amalangeni fine noma ke kokubili kuye ukuthi sisindo salecala lithini kepha ke akusiyo nje into lesisuke siyende nje sivuke nje ukuthi wona awukaholeli disebenti uyade ukuthi umuntu is innocent until proven guilty umuntu ke egcineni sinesikuthatha kakhulu ukuthi kukhulunyiswana ifike sesibona vele ukuthi lona mcasha akade misele ukuthi mhlambe alungise to lapho lawo maphutha la khona ngilapho ke vele sigcina sesimikisa mhlambe inkantolo ukuthi agcina awushushisa akusiyo into lesikuthata ke vele sikuthata because at the same time si promoter decent work si promoter bo social dialogue ukuthi akukhulunyiswana and nathi kumele simbakhulumise abacashi nabo babodwa netisebenzi bakhulumisana kube naloko ukukhulumisana ngendaba lethu bathinza kwemsebenzini live lipromoter kakhulu social dialogue.
Libandla lelibutsa umthelo i-Eswatini Revenue Service lithi lentata inhlelo tekunciphisa emalayini emagedeni kuleli kude ibhizinisi ingathikabeteki. Umcondzisi wetekuchumana Vusi Dlamini ukuvete lokhu ngesikhathi yachaza kutsi indaba yentako ukunciphisa emalayini emagedeni njengoba ke nayivula iphamende ingwenyama ichazile kwekuthi kunesidingo sekunciphisa emalayini emagedeni kuphindza kwentiwe tindlela tekusita abosomabhizinisi labancane ukuthi babhadale umthelo malula.
We want to emphasize that as the ERS, we working with other stakeholders. Obviously, there's some work that we are already trying to do on the ground, and this has come at the right time. The message by His Majesty has come at the right time. We are working through what we call the Eswatini National Trade Facilitation Committee, which comprises of various stakeholders, particularly business community. It also includes those entities that work at the border, which will include the police, because we know that when we're talking about the border, we're not just talking about the ERS or the movement of goods in and out is actually impacted by various stakeholders. So we have a very clear agenda through the ENTFC on how we want to deal with those issues. But also the other thing that we want to emphasize is that recently we did a study, results of which are going to be out, which is the time release study. This also helps us to know how much time it takes for goods to be cleared at the border. And once those results are out, we are actually going to then find strategies on how we would want to deal with those issues, particularly at the border. I think the other thing that I need to emphasize is that the work that we do at the border is not also a function of us as Eswatini only. There's also our partners, our counterparts on the South African side. We are also having some engagements with them to ensure that the work that we do at the border, particularly the movement of goods in and out of the country, is more smooth.
Kutemdlalo ngemuva kwekuthi emacembu lamane lokuyi-Green Mamba, i-Young Buffaloes kanye nembabane Swallows ikanye-ke nembabane Highlanders bendlulele esigabeni semi-finals endzebe ye-Ingwenyama Cup. Batsanzi bemdlalo webhola baveta ukuthi bangajabula nakungadvonswana kanjani. Labanye bafisa kubona imbabane Swallows ikanye nembabane Highlanders bese i-Green Mamba iba ne-Young Buffaloes.
Bathanzi bemidlalo webhola emhlaba wonke baye bathanzi kubona amaqembu lamakhulu kulelo live adlala emancamo imicutshelwane lemikhulu kulelo live. Kanti-ke lokho kwehlukile kubathanzi bemidlalo webhola lapha ekhaya njengoba linyenti labo bafisa kubona iqembu lembabane Highlanders litholana neqembu lembabane Swallows esigabeni sama-semi-finals endzebe yeNgwenyama Cup yalonyaka bese i-Green Mamba itholana ne-Young Buffaloes.
Highlanders Swallows. Forces to forces. Stokwazi kuba lokhuma kakhulu.
No, ngifuna idabi. Ngifuna nje ngicela kuyicela LG shem.
Sifuna idaba. Which is what we need. We don't need the forces.
Ngifuna iswallows baba neswallows. Ngifuna iswallows ngifuna ideba. Mayiphume.
Ngafisa nje ukuthi iHighland idlale neswalo. Yeah. Ngifuna dibane nyalo. Ngale kuya lama armed forces omabili. Yeah, ngifisa kanjani.
Kanti ngikusho kwabo labanye bebalandzeli nangabe lamacembu lamakhulu asembabane atholana kuma-semifinals linye litawendlulela esigabeni samanqamu libe nelithuba lekuphakamisa le ndzebe. Lo msakato Eswatini TV temidlalo ngilinda Dlamini embabane.
Sihlalo weNgwenyama Cup kutemasiko sikhulu ubonga inkosi sethula emacembu latawuvula inkhundla ngekwehlukana kwemchudzelwano kutemasiko. Lo sihlalo uphindze waveta luhlalo litawusetjentiswa ngemajaji kuhlenga ke labatawuphumelela. Tingawo-ke tindzaba tesiswati sitawubahlola emakethe sitawubuya sitsabele inkulumo yandvunankulu sukwini la Itolo uma athula i-task team letawukulwa nenkhohlakalo.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience in the kingdom.
Right, welcome back. Siyakuvusela nalo sandzako sivulela lesikhathi sitawubuka nje inkulumo yemhlonishwa ndvunankulu langeni la Itolo nakasukumisa i-task team letawubuka tindzaba tenkhohlakalo lapha even sesimelalele ukuthi ukhuluma wathini.
We are here today to launch the tripartite committee, the anti-corruption task team to enhance the fight against corruption. The task team will comprise the deputy, the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the National Commissioner of Police, and the Commissioner of the Anti-Corruption Commission. We all know that corruption is a worldwide problem that has also become endemic in our country, unfortunately. And we know that corruption significantly impacts negatively on democracy and on the rule of law. When power is utilized for political gain, the political system loses credibility and justice cannot prevail. Corruption undermines our progress as a nation and impacts negatively on service delivery, on human and socio-economic development, on job creation, and virtually it impacts negatively on all the objectives and the goals that have been given to us as the new government to implement, given to us by Sibal. It also wears down investor confidence. Government has therefore committed itself to zero tolerance to corruption and has committed itself to fighting corruption in all sectors of society and of the economy. Some of the causes of corruption are greed, and there's a lack of values and integrity, and still others are poverty and bureaucracy and inefficiency in administration structures. And all these must be dealt with concurrently. The launch of this task team is a positive step towards promoting accountability, transparency, and good governance, in line with the policy direction that was so clearly articulated in the speech from the throne by His Majesty the King during the official opening of Parliament. This initiative now reflects government's commitment to combating corruption and ensuring the efficient use of public resources for the betterment of society. The task team will be responsible for investigating corrupt allegations, prosecuting cases, and implementing preventing measures and strengthening some frameworks to address corruption effectively. The team will immediately deal with existing cases of corruption that have been reported and will bring offenders to book with immediate effect, just as commanded by His Majesty in his address to Parliament. We urge this team to deal with cases and bring them to finality evident to all Emaswati. The Director of Public Prosecutions is expected as well to prioritize corruption cases henceforth. The task team will report to the Prime Minister and work with the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. I urge the whole nation to work in tandem with this team as we fight this scourge. Government has all the confidence in this team that they will deliver. Corruption is making life worse for the poor in the country. And if we come together, we can change the current status and reduce poverty through fighting corruption. Fighting corruption should not be a rhetoric, but it must be demonstrated by action and evidence that corrupt individuals are brought to book and are dealt with according to the law. Speaking about corruption only and doing nothing about it is worse than corruption itself, as it exacerbates, corruption. Because those who are corrupt gain confidence that nothing will be done to them. Hence, we are tasking this team to act decisively on corruption. We look forward to Bobabuli, kuthi babanjwe elihuka bangene ebhodweni. Siyabonga bekunene sicela ukuthi siyosebenza. Live lonke selinibukile nine leni bekelwe ukuthi niyosebenza lenzaba yenkohlakalo eveni. Siyabonga, inkosi inibusise.
Yeah, mbukele, that was the Prime Minister Mhlonishwa Russell Dlamini akhuluma nje ngabo bumcoka bale task team lena. He actually echoed His Majesty's words lapho akhuluma khona indaba yokuthi indaba ye corruption lapha eveni ibuyisela emuva iprogress yelive leSwatini, and also it impacts economy lapha eveni negatively. Nasibona nje indaba the service delivery, mhlambe kwakhiwa kwemisebenzi, job creation and social economic development, kanjalo nema investors imvala ivedile nje Prime Minister ukuthi ama investors nawo aleka I trust on live eSwatini uma ngabe kutawuvela ama reports ukuthi kunenkohlakalo. So it's important ukuthi le team lena iphenyisise ama cases la existako, itawuqala nje usebenzele ama cases la existako, iphinde implement nala imithetho lena bekutawutholakala labo mhlambe la tholakala ukuthi benda I corruption lapha eveni. Itaqala kusebenta immediately. I think isifiso indzaba lena ayigcizelele ingwenyama nayivule eParliament lokuthi vele ayisentshetwe indzaba ye-corruption, especially because uyakhumbula nasesibayeni sive samaswati sayiveda indzaba ye-corruption ukuthi i-corruption le ndekale emakhaya vele ibahlukubeta kakhulu ngiyona nje lebanga ukuthi babe senhluphekweni i-poverty.
Yeah, and indeed, Lulu, ngwenyama na etfula lenkulumo walesihlanu, he premised that particular topic ngenzabe kwekuthi sive samaswati vele sagitsa elugogweni ndzabeni yenkhohlakalo, you know, just pronouncing their frustrations ngayindzaba yenkhohlakalo ukuthi isicekela emuva kangakanani kutentfutfuko yabese ke seyiniketa hulumende welishumi nakubili indzaba insaya lenkulu ekuthenini yisebenteni urgently lendzaba lena, prioritize it, and there should be tangible evidence ekuthenini nangemambala silwa nayo inkohlakalo. And you know what, 3 days later we see the culmination of exactly His Majesty's words. But what has been interesting, I think, seeing the response from Eswatini, particularly online, has been the division. Some are very excited about this development. Some have a lot of questions regarding Inzabe Gwegutsi. Isn't this redundant? Isn't this the same work that the ACC is supposed to be doing? But our journalist LinkedIn Kusile, who was there on the ground when this development was happening, did pose that same question to, you know, the Prime Minister as well as the Attorney General Sifiso Khumalo, to which they responded particularly by, you know, AG Uphendvule wathi we are not here to dissolve the ACC, as they form part of the task team. Instead, we want the state agencies working on corruption issues to be well coordinated and work seamlessly. Wabuya and Vunankulu Elive wagcizelela indzabe yokuthi the intention is to establish a seamless system that would enhance the investigations by the police and the ACC and bring prosecutable evidence to the DPP. And I think ultimately it does respond to le nkhalo noma ke lokukhala kwesive semaswati nekukhala kwethu sonke nje vele ekuthenini inkohlakalo isicekele emva kangakanani. So I think lesingakuthandazela ukuthi nangemambala, but they will reap the desired results lungelele. Inkohlakalo seyisilimete kakhulu, you know, some of nakabala the causes, Prime Minister ubala greed, lack of integrity and values, poverty, which is a big one. And you will remember His Majesty did say this Parliament should really work tirelessly hard. In fact, one of the most urgent priorities by poverty alleviation. He even quoted sustainable development goals. Actually, we are signatories la 2030 agenda. So we really do hope to see, you know, the multi-sectoral approach here to our ministries la private. The Ministry of Agriculture has a big task. Poverty alleviation, and luckily we've had him on the show. He's spoken on his ambitions just as a minister. So now that we've seen the speech from the throne, we're just waiting for the budget speech, and hopefully officially
hopefully Naleta's team Lena's will be a success, because I think AG also pointed out yesterday ukuthi khona lenye leyasukunyiswa ngesikhathi Barnabas Dlamini saseng Prime Minister ukuthi ngabe konke kani, so sethemba ukuthi lena itawuhamba ifike emaphethelweni, because the Prime Minister did say ukuthi itaw promote transparency, promote accountability, and also ihambisana ne policy directive yahulumende noma directive yenkwenyama ukuthi vele akudisentshedwe tindzaba te corruption lonyaka, kanti ke itabe ihedwa ngu acting, it consists of acting director DPP Lomvula Hlophe, acting national commissioner Magelida Dlamini, kanye nemphathi we-Anti-Corruption Commission Maphevu Dlamini. So we're hoping for the best ukuthi vele icale isebende khona manje ngekusho kwengonyama icale isebende ngamadubane bathi nje ngwe bacale kusebenza sifisa.
Yeah, kanti ke the team nothing nje Prime Minister, let's give them a chance. We have ukuthi it's some other duties that will be very necessary in legal frameworks la khona lapha eveni la tawusubmithwa ngibo. So we do hope ukuthi indeed they will be a substantial addition into the wing of corruption lapha eveni. For us, it's just, you know, to witness and pray that indeed basebenta lokho ke lokutawusita live ukuthi lichubeke lithuthuke inkohlakalo kube yinto yayidolana ngamambala bobabuli bahukwe babe yeah bebete bobabuli. But yeah, that's it. That was the Prime Minister officially announcing a tripartite task team that will fight corruption lapha eveni.
Asibahlele market sana sibuya silabe sikhuluma ngetindzaba tehlukubetana ngidebulili with the country director 1 Billion Rising Xolani Hlatshwako.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007*3*7#, or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any Nedbank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Welcome back. Sikuvusela losanza kusivulela sitawuteka tindzaba tehlubeteka ngetebulili indzabakele nayo ingwenyama leyakhuluma ngayo esibayeni aphinda akhuluma ngayo futhi nayivula iphalamende evikini leliphelile ecela ukuthi amaswati awabambisane ekulweni nayo lenkinga lena lenkhulu kade njengoba sayibonakala ukuthi vele inkinga kakhulu kade lapha eveni tinenge tinhlangano etibambisa uhulumende ekulweni nako lokuhlubeteka ngetebulili ufaka khathi iswaka 1 billion rising campaign kwakha invothana letinye nje tinkampani kuzama kwanzisa lwati noma ke kutfola tisombululo talenkinga lekhona mkhangaso ke 1 billion rising yazama ukuthi ivakashele sive lemimangweni kuyova letinkinga noma ke timbangela letibanga ukuthi kube nalokuhlubeteka ngetebulili nokuthi ngabe ama solutions kungaba yini. I'm joined by country director ka 1 billion rising Colani Hlatshwa kokuvaka abantu ukuthi yini labayitfolako kahle kahle nabavakashele sive semaswati ukuthi ngabe sicelo sengwenyama singakhona yini na kokuthi sifezeke. Sabangcela ukuthi benathi lo mhla ekseni ikhulumile inkosi nayivule eParliament ukuthi aselisuke lelifule lemnyama leli hoverisha iSociety lokuthi nje umuntu ufuna ngabakwatile tawubona ukuthi abeke partner wakhe esandla ingabe vele mhlawumbe lokuthi nivakashele ama community members kuyasida yini yindlela lenitfolako lemimangweni kubangwa yini lokuthi umfuna akwatile nje so tawu decide ukuthi abeke partner wakhe esandla.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu ngibingelele nakumbukela ekhaya. Umfundisi angacala ngekukhutha lwandle sithumo senkulumo yengwenyama. Le kube inkulumo lemcoka kakhulu singamaswati. Nawubuka tonke letingoni latitsinzile. Siphinde sibuke nalendzaba yekuhlukubeta lendlela labeke ngayo. Siye sithi ke nasikhuthata ukuthi indzaba yekuhlukubeta siyivete ibe sehlakalo. Suke siveta netinto letifika kulesigaba lesi lapho baholi belive bayawuchubeka bafrown against gender based violence noma bakhulume ngendlela yokuthi bacwayise sive ngayo gender based violence. Sorry but nalokuthi nasekukhulumeka ingwenyama ingacali futhi nalokukhuluma ngako seyima nemahlandla ikhuda lodlame lolukhona kusenda ke simaswati nalobe kathi itolo awuyinto lekhulunywa bobani naseyikhulumeni lomutse kufanele ukuthi simaswati sishintshe indlela lebe sibuka ngayo nekubuka nje ukuthi nawusho ukuthi sisakhuluma emimangweni sikhuluma nebantu ngendzaba yekuhlukubeta umuntu angasho nje ukuthi abantu bayakufisa kubona lishintsho mane nabo bangade ukuthi ngulapho sitawucala khona ngoba vele lo dlame ludlangile lusesigabeni lesisetulu. Inkosi nje nayiveta kule nkulumo yayo ukuthi sidinga ukuthi kube ne-cultural change. Iphindze ivete nekupromotha i-equality for all. Ngicabanga ukuthi leto dingcikithi lebe sithi nasicoca nebantu emangweni kuleti gumbi tekucocisana lebe iveta kakhulu ukuthi kuze kuthi silive siphume ekuhlukukataneni itolo tinto lebetendeka itolo nalebe sejwayele ukuthi siyadenda noma letingumkhuba lesitibuka ukuthi ngitona tinto lesitendako thine lesibona ngazuthi indlela yekuphila. Kulesimo lesesikilo nendlela lodlame ngayo nanebantu lasebatalwa kulesikhathi sanamuhla netinto letinsha lesetivelile lebe itolo betingekho siyadzinga ukuthi sishintshe indlela lesibuka ngato tinto. So ingwenyama nayikugcizelela lokho kungilokunye lokukhomba lokuthi kukhona lapho siya khona eveni. Siphinde sikhulumise indzaba yekupromotha i-equality. Nasikhuluma nge-equality lomunye utawucabanga ukuthi sikhulumela nje kubantu labathathene noma labathandzanako noma kusekhaya kuphela. I-equality iyenca yegabuzela kuko konke lokho. Iwele ngisho nasetigabeni tekushaya kwemthetho. Iwele ibe ebuholini lobehlukahlukene lobukhona eveni. Iwele iye nasetinhlelweni letikhishwa nguhulumende letizuzisa sive ukuthi ingabe leto tinhlelo sitihlele ngaluphi lindlela tiyayipromotha yini i-gender equality. So and nangabe sipromotha i-gender equality noma kulingana kubo bonke abantu ngato tonke tinhlangothi letikhona kungilokunye lokulikhambi lelikhulu ngoba lokwende ukuthi bantu bahlukubetane lomunye ubuka lomunye ambukele phasi lomunye ambuke ngazuthi yena akakafanele ngathi bekangaba kusesigabeni lesithile noma akadzingi ukuhlonishwa noma akadzingi ukunikwa lithuba noma ambuke njenge-property ukuthi bekangenda noma yini kuye. Ngingasho nje ukuthi sisacoca sisa-engage kuma-communities abantu bayalifisa lishintsho. Bayatichamuka naleti sombululo njengoba ingwenyama seyigcizelele kuletinye taletinto labativetako lekufanele ukuthi simaswati sisebentele kito.
Nithi inhlangano you've been calling ukuthi vele i-GBV sale declaration as an emergency kumbe mhlambe nase declaration kutawusebenteka kangcono. Ingabe nase declaration yini lena letawushintsha vele kutawusita kanganani ukuthi vele mhlawumbe tinombolo tinciphe talabo labahlukubeteka ngetebulile nokuthi ama-cases abo handlisheke mhlawumbe ngekuphuthuma.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu naseyideclarishiwe i-GBV njengesehlakalo kuningi lapho sive sitawubenefita khona. Umuntu-ke angakubuka ukuthi lomunye akubuke ukuthi nasiyideclarisha isho kuthi ama-resources lamaningi. Kepha kunetigaba lesingadenda letisimikisa le ekukhombeni ukuthi sifuna kuyibalula njengesahlakalo lesifaka ekhathi lokuthi njengoba abaholi bachubeka bakhuluma sikholwe nokuthi nemalungu ePhalamende nabaholi etigabeni letihlukahlukene batawuhamba kuleli layini inkosi lekhuluma ngayo ukugcizelela lokuthi asilwe nekuhlukubeta noma asikuyekele kuhlukubeta ngato tonke tindlela. So nase siyibalulile njengesehlakalo kwenta lokuthi wonke umuntu lapha khona abe nenzima athi ukuthi unenzima lekufanele ayidlale athi ukuthi nasikhuluma ngekuhlukubeta akusi into yetinhlangano noma yemaphoyisa netinkantolo kepha indzaba yethu sonke simaswati. Seyiphinde nasiyibalulile njengesahlakalo isho ukuthi asigcini kuphela ngekukhuluma njengoba sivile inkulumo yenkosi ukuthi sekwentiwe konke sekufuna sigcine sishintshe kepha siphinde sidinge nema-resources. So ama-resources amcoka kakhulu ngoba singakhuluma kodwa without ama-resources angeke ze silethe lishintsho ngoba letinye taletinto kuze ukuthi tenteke kangcono kunetimali letidingekako ukuthi tilekelele ekufakeni ekhasi lokuthi kuphunywe kuyofundiswa abantu kunetindleko nekufundisa lawo matiko ngoba kusenako lesidingo sekuthi ematikweni lahlukahlukene abantu abafundiseke bayiconze lendzaba yekuhlukubeta bayisukumele etulu. And nasikhuluma ematiko sisho onke ematiko lakhona ngaphansi kwahulumende ngoba nasiyisukumele sikhuluma ngalevelinye sonke lapho sikhona khona lapho tinhlelo kufanele sisitende indzaba yekulwa nekuhlukubeta siyibeke embili silive ngabe ngisetemfundweni kutempilo ngikuphi lapho sikhona ema-university lapho nje kunebantu khona nalabo labasebenta etinkantolo nasemaphoyiseni bayadzinga nabo ukuthi baceceshwe so konke lokho kudzinga ama-resources siphinde futhi sibuke letinye tinhlelo lebetingasita ekutheni umuntu aze singafiki ngoba siyalibona lizinga lekubulalana selisetulu kakhulu senda njani ukuthi abantu bangaze babulawe bangaze bafike esigabeni ukuthi bafe so lokunye kwabo lama-resources kungaba ngiko lokutheni kube nekwakhiwa kwalama-safe houses lapho khona make akhona kubalekela khona nemvana noma nababe nakahlukubetekile njengoba sathi kuhlukubeteka wonke umuntu so nangabe-ke singakakubuki ngalolo hlobo uyawukhanza ukuthi kukhona lokuthi siyazama lokulehla lishintsho kepha alukaphelele phinde futhi nasiyibalule njengesehlakalo netinkampani letikhona even la kangwane nangephandle nato titawusukuma kwelekelela hulumende ekutheni tifake lawo timali letingasita ekutheni silwe nalolu dlame lolukhona nemithetho lesinayo even la kangwane nangabe kukhona lapho solisalele emuva itawubuka kabanti tonke leto tinto njengoba sathi ukuthi sinemithetho i-Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act kepha yashaya nga-2018 kepha kusolo kunetingcingwana letikhomba ukuthi awukapheleli kusebenta kwawo lo mthetho kusekadzinga ukuthi lokhu lokube kula mthethweni siku-enforce noma sente isiqiniseko sokuthi kuya-implementwa lesolo singakakhoni ukugwenta silive ngingasho nje ukuthi kunengi lesingakubhenefitha silive la kangwane nasingayibalula njengesehlakalo.
Okay, kokugcina nje kumbe mhlambe kuva ukuthi when is your next community visit mhlambe naletinye tinhlangano letifisa kubambisana nani dingenda kanjani?
Ngiyabonga kakhulu singumkhankaso i-1 billion rising siyaqhubeka lokuya emangweni njengoba kumFebruary nje inyanga yelithando singumkhankaso sithi asibeke eluthando lube ingcikithi ekuphila kwethu konke indlela tethu tekuphila kungako nje mhla ka-24 February sitabe sinalo mbuthano lomkhulu i-Rising Festival lelwa nako kuhlukubeta lapho sitabe sinabantu labasuka kuleti gungu letisemangweni letehlukahlukene sine labachamuka ematiko ahulumende sinalabaqhamuka enhlanganweni letingekho phasi kwahulumende sinema-artists sonke 7 la kangwane sisukuma sikhuluma ngavelinye ukuthi akuphele kuhlukubeta and sikholelwa-ke ukuthi nasihlangene ngalolo hlobo lolo njengoba sitabe silapha nga-24 February emavuso sonke sikhona simeme nemaswati ngilenye indlela lengasita ukuthi laba labasemangweni sebahlangene bafunze kulabanye labachamuka kuletinye tigodi siphinde sithelelane nelwadi sithi inhlangano nahulumende.
Thank you so much. Sibonga kakhulu Gcwaleni kuba nathi lo mhla sethemba ukuthi sidagcina sifikile lapha ekutheni kuba bede ama cases labikwako ngekuhlubeteka ngetebulili iGBV 24 February lapha emavuso batabe bahlangene netinye tinhlangano ukuzama nje kwanzisa lwati ngayo iGBV. Asibahloniphe makethe sibenede indzabade sengisi.
I'm a very, 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 very happy customer.
I know. We are selling peanuts at 5. Thank you so much. Umtalak busi. Find the strat, babe.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 7. The Prime Minister has announced a task team that will fight against corruption in the kingdom. The task team comprises of the Director of Public Prosecution, the National Commissioner of Police, and the Anti-Corruption Commission.
The task team will report to the Prime Minister and work with the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. I urge the whole nation to work in tandem with this team as we fight this scourge. Government has all the confidence in this team that they will deliver. Corruption is making life worse for the poor in the country. And if we come together, we can change the current status and reduce poverty through fighting corruption. Fighting corruption should not be a rhetoric, but it must be demonstrated by action and evidence that corrupt individuals are brought to book and are dealt with according to the law. Speaking about corruption only and doing nothing about it is worse than corruption itself, as it exacerbates, corruption. Because those who are corrupt gain confidence that nothing will be done to them. Hence, we are tasking this team to act decisively on corruption. We look forward to Bopabuli, kusi babanjwe ilihuka, bangene potweni.
The Minister for Justice, Prince Simelane, has applauded the Prime Minister for responding swiftly to His Majesty's call of fighting corruption tooth and nail.
Ngafisha sibonga ke umlangeni umhlonishwa ndvunankulu ukuthi atosukumisa le task team lelibandla njoba selichaziwe nje selihlanganisa bobani nabobani ukuthi
According to the Anti-Corruption Commission, there are over 200 cases of corruption that are yet to see their day in court. For Eswatini TV News, I am Linton Gule with Iskumbuzo Dlamini in Babane.
Clerk to Parliament Benedict Klaba says Parliament will come up with strategies to protect the nation, its constitution and the system of governance, like organizing side meetings in world stages to showcase the system. Klaba said this when reacting to His Majesty King Mswati III's speech from the throne.
The clerk to Parliament, Benedict Klaba, says Parliament will not wait for the country to be criticized, but will use every opportunity it gets to promote a Eswatini system of governance.
Directed us as Parliament to defend the Constitution, to defend the nation, and also the system of governance, which is very, very crucial for the nation. So in football, they say the great mode of defending is to attack. So as Parliament, we are going to come up with strategies of defending the nation, of defending the system of governance, of defending the Constitution. One of the strategies that we are going to use is when the Pan-African Parliament or the IPU, they are having meetings, international meetings, whereby we are going to arrange forums where we shall present about the Constitution of the country. Also, we present about the system of governance, the monarchical democracy, how it operates. We have heard in many forums where people will say Eswatini does not have a constitution, there is no democracy in Eswatini. So we won't wait for such people, but we need as a country, as Parliament, to go out to the people, to go out to Africa, we go out to the nations and present what monarchical democracy is all about and the entire system, how we operate as a country. From also the presentation from His Majesty, he touched many issues about peace, integrity.
Klaba says Parliament will continue to capacitate parliamentarians about the separation of powers of the three arms of government, which are Parliament, Judiciary, as well as the Executive, in order to achieve His Majesty King Mswati III's directives. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Parliament.
The Ministry of Public Works and Transport commends His Majesty King Mswati III for a comprehensive speech from the throne addressing infrastructure programs to upgrade the roads. The Chief Road Engineer Vincent Dlamini has programs in place for ensuring that all roads are easily accessible.
Following His Majesty King Mswati III's speech from the throne implementing program to upgrade infrastructure, the Minister of Public Works and Transport Chief Roads Engineer Vincent Dlamini says that there are road programs in place to tar all gravel roads and resurface damaged tarred roads.
Laba welibhange la African Development Bank balithembisa live ukuthi imali tebakhona umgwaqo bangakhona ukusiboleka.
The Minister of Public Works and Transport is doing a feasibility study and detailed designs for roads in Eswatini. The Spofaneni, Stobelweni, bypass Maloma and from Maloma to Espambani Road is under construction. The African Development Bank has promised to assist with funds to build the road infrastructure, so Eswatini government will work hand in hand with the bank. Another gravel road to be tarred is the Eskangeni Luva Road and Stobelweni Tugahlati Road. Also the Maloma and Mbulungwane Road is within the project. Damaged tarred road with potholes are also part of the project. The MR9 road is under construction and the Mojane Pixpeak road is next.
Develop infrastructure, especially roads, attract investors which boost the country's economy and help reach the Sustainable Goal 8, which aim to get decent work and economic growth. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Cindy Sozwane with Sodom Langeni, Mbabane.
Eswatini Water and Agricultural Development Enterprise Chief Executive Officer Samson Stole has come out to state that the arrest of some employees working on the construction of the Mpakeni Dam would not affect the continuity of the project. Sitole says he was informed by the project manager that the arrest will not stop the constructor from completing the 3.5 billion Malangeni Dam within the stipulated 51 months. Sitole also applauds government agencies that managed to crack that some of the employees were working in the country without permits.
The work is going on because the project manager he has the work permit and is able to pursue work at project zone. Indeed, the employees did have problems as this thing happened in the evening of last Friday. They wondered if they were to go back to work the following morning or today. The human resource of Sakalive, which is the company we employed, did assure employees that work is there and they can come and do work. And the brief that I got from the project manager on the ground, Mr. Bafana Matsebula, is that the company has assured the organization that work will carry on. With regards to the pace of the work, the truth of the matter is the pace cannot go in the normal way when the key personnel are arrested. But what we know is that the contractor is fully aware of the fact that they must make up for the lost time or else they will face contractual penalties. And contractual penalties here are very heavy. They come with heavy fines. And I don't think the contractor would want to do that. And besides, I have already spoken to them and they have apologized for what happened.
The oil reserve construction project at Puzamoya will require 2 billion malangeni. According to the Eswatini National Petroleum Company's Chief Executive Officer Nhlanhla Dlamini, the needed designs are complete. He states that this will be a 2 to 3 year project.
After the recent public announcement by their Majesties regarding the commencement of the National Oil Reserve construction slated for June this year, CEO Nhlanhla Dlamini of the Eswatini National Petroleum Company revealed that the firm is currently finalizing funding negotiations expected to conclude by month's end.
Kule facility lesikhuluma saba sePhuzumoya sitargeta ukuthi itabamba oil noma petrol over 60 days, which is 2 months.
Dlamini affirmed that all designs are ready, with the project set to kick off before June. The CEO emphasized the project's 2 billion malangeni budgetary requirement, outlining its primary goal of securing a 2-month fuel reserve for the country.
Lama designs are the projects now and we are happy with the outcome of our designs. Now costing ukuthi sicabanga stars costa malini sesinawo lokho.
Dlamini disclosed that the proceeds collected through the 35 cents tariff amounting to 330 million emalangeni.
Umsebenzi wayo sibe sitakhumbula ukuthi wasawaphala lenkampani uhulumende wasinika 35 cents upetrol ukuze sitawusebenzisa le mali leyo kufuli lona.
Dlamini emphasized that the facility will ensure the security of fuel supply, make a substantial contribution to Eswatini's socio-economic development. Dlamini highlighted that the job opportunities will accompany the project, echoing the sentiments expressed by their majesties regarding the significance of employment creation. Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Mbabane.
The director for the Coordinating Assembly of Non-Governmental Organizations, Thembinkosi Dlamini, commends His Majesty King Mswati III for a comprehensive speech that addressed all social ills, including health sector issues. Dlamini says it is now up to government to provide a clear plan on how to provide solutions.
First amongst this is the issue of the access to the highest attainable standard of health, including mental health, where His Majesty was very clear to say no one should die in Eswatini because of lack of access to medical care. We see this as a very good roadmap for the government so that as they go into planning phase, they need to think about the plans, the strategies that they are going to deploy to ensure that the vision of His Majesty for his nation is attained. Secondly, the issue of gender-based violence and femicide was also key in His Majesty's speech, which is something that we believe as Congo and our partners is one of the key issues that as a country we need to address. Because once gender-based violence and femicide becomes a norm in the country, it is going to take many, many years to course correct. We are hopeful that the government, the 12th administration, is understanding precisely the task at hand. Not to say we need to increase security, have stiffer fines, and also we need to raise awareness. These issues go beyond those just matters of managing these issues, but to look more deeply into access to the economy, participation in the economy, joblessness in the economy, because when people are jobless, when people are hungry, they are more likely to be violent. So we need to address the underlying issues that are the precursor to violence so that we are able to then move together as a country in prosperity.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security has warned businesses and companies who fail to pay their employees on time as well as not complying with the law in remitting statutory deductions, saying this is punishable by law. The Deputy Labour Commissioner Kingdom Mamba stated that they are aware that there is now a rise in companies, especially those in security, that are not complying with the law.
Yes, there is a rise in terms of employers who are, particularly in the security sector, who are failing to pay their workers, on time. Well, first and foremost, it is a criminal offense not to pay your workers. Section 47 of Employment Act actually stipulates that an employer is supposed to pay his or her employees within a period of about 30 days. So if you fail then to pay workers during that, within a period of about 30 days, then you are criminally liable as an employer to be prosecuted then when you, possibly if you are found guilty of having failed to pay these employees on time, you can be prosecuted and sentenced into 1 year imprisonment or 3,000 malangeni fine, or both. That is in terms of Section 44 Fire Employment Act. Well, but we do not simply just take employers, to court. There are processes. One, we have to conduct inspections, routine labor inspection, and then thereafter we do follow-up inspections. Then, if maybe after a second follow-up, still the employer is not willing to comply with the law, then definitely we have then to take that particular employer to court for prosecution. And we're supposed to take them to magistrate court. So each region, there is a magistrate court. So perhaps then the law is clear. We're supposed then to take them to nearest magistrate court in that particular region. However, like I've already mentioned, that first of all, our mission is not to, to move lawyers out of work. We try because our role is just to create a harmonious industrial relations. So now we come to check here both sides, and then if we see that, okay, indeed this employer is violating the law, then ultimately, as a last resort, then we can perhaps prosecute that employer.
The Eswatini Revenue Service says it is working with different stakeholders to ease congestion at the border and reduce the tax burden for SMEs as directed by His Majesty King Mswati III when opening the 12th Parliament on Friday. This has been said by the Director of Marketing Communications, Kusile Dlamini.
We want to emphasize that as the ERS, we working with other stakeholders. Obviously, there's some work that we are already trying to do on the ground, and this has come at the right time. The message by His Majesty has come at the right time. We are working through what we call the Eswatini National Trade Facilitation Committee, which comprises of various stakeholders, particularly business community. It also includes those entities that work at the border, which will include the police, because we know that when we're talking about the border, we're not just talking about the ERS, or the movement of goods in and out is actually impacted by various stakeholders. So we have a very clear agenda through the ENTFC on how we want to deal with those issues. But also the other thing that we want to emphasize is that recently we did a study, results of which are going to be out, which is the time release study. This also helps us to know how much time it takes for goods to be cleared at the border. And once those results are out, we are actually going to then find strategies on how we would want to deal with those issues, particularly at the border. I think the other thing that I need to emphasize is that the work that we do at the border is not also a function of us as Eswatini only. There's also our partners, our counterparts on the South African side. We are also having some engagements with them to ensure that the work that we do at the border, particularly the movement of goods in and out of the country, is more smooth.
The advent of COVID-19 disrupted operations of many businesses and disoriented many people's lives. However, it also brought an opportunity to some to start thinking out of the box and come up with ways and means of improving the economic situation. Sirala Benyoni Multi-Purpose Cooperative is one of the ideas that came to life during the COVID-19 era, as persons with visual impairment thought it could be the best way to improve their economic status.
The chairman of the cooperative, Mhlonishwa Mabato, says they have lined up many activities to implement for the benefit of the union's members. He says at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, people were compelled to stay home, and this was a setback to visually impaired persons as they mostly depended on public handouts. He says they then decided to save part of the 280 emalangeni which they receive as a grant from government, and that is how the cooperative came into being. He further assures the public that this is not a makeshift organization, but a legally registered entity.
Very intelligent.
Makhosazana Langa, an educator at the government wing charged with the responsibility of training the country's cooperatives, says Silala Benyoni Multi-Purpose Cooperative is on track in as far as government laws and policies are concerned. According to Eswatini Multi-Purpose Cooperative Union, the cooperative movement in the Kingdom of Eswatini began in 1964, and to date, the movement boasts over 100,000 members. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Mbonga Dube in Manzini.
In our international news, the war raging in Sudan could leave over 700,000 children severely malnourished this year, the UN has said, warning tens of thousands could die unless aid was dramatically increased. Via discretion is advised.
Calling on the world to stop turning a blind eye to the conflict in Sudan. UNICEF warned tens of thousands of children's lives hang in the balance. 10 months of civil war between the country's military and the paramilitary rapid support forces has left its infrastructure devastated, sparking warnings of famine.
Consequences of the past 300 days mean that more than 700,000 children are likely to suffer the most dangerous form of malnutrition this year. UNICEF won't be able to treat more than 300,000 of those without improved access and without additional support. In that case, tens of thousands would likely die.
Some 4 million children are among the 10.7 million people now displaced by the conflict. Deploring the lack of funds collected in previous appeals, the agency is calling for €780 million to help over 7.5 million of the country's most vulnerable children this year.
But with no sign of a ceasefire, we have to focus instead on two things: safe, sustained and unimpeded humanitarian access across conflict lines, and international support to help sustain the essential services that children rely on to survive. Currently, we have neither.
UNICEF also reported a 5-fold increase in verified cases of children being killed, raped or recruited from 1 year ago.
A 16-year-old died following clashes in southern Senegal, a hospital source and a local politician said on Sunday. The third fatality in unrest after President Macky Sall postponed this month's presidential election.
A third death in Senegal as protests spiral and violence worsens in a country once seen as a haven of stability. The government says it's investigating the deaths, but that it's too early to jump to conclusions.
There have been regrettable events that led to the deaths of young protesters. It's regrettable. The state prosecutor has stepped in and will wait for the investigation to find out the true cause. We present our condolences to the victims' families.
2 other youths have also died since protests began, one in the capital Dakar and another in the northern city of Saint-Louis. Demonstrations have been growing increasingly violent since the government's decision to postpone the election, originally scheduled for February 25th. Opposition leaders say the move is unconstitutional and insist they'll carry on campaigning as normal.
We've lodged an appeal against the unconstitutional law passed by Macky Sall's MPs in the National Assembly. This appeal suspends it. Our coalition is carrying on with the election campaign.
Members of the opposition and civil society groups have called for mass demonstrations on Tuesday and a general strike.
Israeli forces rescued 2 hostages in Gaza earlier Monday in a dramatic raid that was a small but symbolically significant success for Israel. However, it is the first successful mission in months, and with 134 hostages still remaining unaccounted for and many believed to be dead. Many of their families still believe a ceasefire deal with Hamas is the best way to bring them home.
There were more than 250 of them at the beginning, people taken hostage in Israel on October 7th. When Israel's war with Hamas started, releasing the hostages was one of 2 goals, along with destroying Hamas's armed capabilities in Gaza. But after the release of a female soldier on October 30th, the mission revealed to be almost impossible.
2 soldiers were severely wounded tonight in the Gaza Strip in an attempt to rescue hostages held by Hamas. We did not rescue hostages in this operation.
In December, 3 hostages managed to escape their captors, approach military positions, and even leave messages calling for help. But they were shot dead by soldiers. Several hostages were killed in captivity. Meanwhile, others are believed to have died in Israeli airstrikes. Monday's rescue operation, combining elite soldiers, police, and intelligence, is the first of its kind. Still, with 134 hostages remaining in Gaza, with dozens believed to be dead, many families say their best chance lies in a ceasefire deal with Hamas. More than 100 hostages were swapped with Palestinian prisoners in November. Relatives of the hostages released on Monday urged authorities to negotiate.
Please be serious and strike a deal. The Israeli people needs the deal done. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, today.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the only way to free the hostages is by pressing on with the war.
Shockwaves across European capitals and a rare rebuke from NATO followed the latest comments by former President Donald Trump about the U.S. commitments to the alliance. Trump said that if he returned to the White House, he would invite Russia to attack allies that he termed delinquent.
NATO was busted.
Speaking Saturday at a campaign rally in Conway, South Carolina, Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump veered from his prepared remarks to talk about his view that European countries are taking advantage of the United States and not paying their fair share for their security.
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
Trump's apparent fondness for Russian President Vladimir Putin and distrust of NATO allies are not new. But this comment encouraging Moscow to attack a NATO ally triggered a more than normal slew of European reactions. In a statement, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said, any suggestion that allies will not defend each other undermines all of our security, including that of the U.S., and puts American and European soldiers at increased risk.
Let's be serious. NATO cannot be an alliance à la carte. It exists or it not exist. But I'm not going to spend my time comment any silly idea that comes during this electoral campaign in the U.S.
No country has debts to NATO, as Trump suggests. In 2014, alliance allies pledged to move towards spending 2% of their gross domestic product on defense by 2024. NATO estimates that as of early 2023, 10 of its 30 member states were close to that 2% mark. One expert noted that Trump has also asked the Republican-led House of Representatives not to provide any more U.S. military aid for Ukraine, which is fighting a defensive war against Russia.
American policy is to some degree already shifting because there's a candidate Trump and because Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. I think that these comments are in a way the icing on the cake and suggest that depending on how the election goes, Europe could in some ways be alone with Russia, and Europe could be significantly more alone with the war in Ukraine.
Another expert told VOA that Congress has put some policies in place to protect the NATO alliance, which has guaranteed security in Europe since the end of World War II.
And in fact, in 2023, as part of the National Defense Authorization Act, Congress actually passed a requirement that any president, couldn't unilaterally withdraw from NATO without congressional approval.
But other experts say a future president would have other ways of weakening NATO short of a formal withdrawal, including by pulling U.S. troops out of Germany or by casting doubts on America's treaty obligation to honor Article 5, NATO's Mutual Defense Clause. Under the clause, all NATO allies commit to help any member who comes under attack. The article has only been activated once, by the United States, in the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
NATO members are still reeling from comments Donald Trump made over the weekend in which the former U.S. president claimed that should he return to the White House, he would encourage Russia to attack NATO members if they failed to spend enough on their own defense. However, Trump's claims are based on a false idea about how the military alliance is financed.
Donald Trump has long been a provocateur. Even so, his comments at a campaign rally over the weekend sent shockwaves across Europe when he suggested he would encourage Russia to actually attack a NATO ally.
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
Trump's ongoing talk of unpaid bills to the U.S. reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of how NATO financing works. NATO's 31 members have made a commitment to spend at least 2% of their GDP on defense by 2024. That's money spent on their own defense, not bills paid to any other country. Currently, the U.S. leads NATO, spending about 3.5% of its GDP on defense. 10 others have reached the 2% goal, and the others are either close to the 2% threshold or say they're moving toward that mark. Under Article 5, NATO members have promised to come to one another's aid if attacked. And with the war in Ukraine still raging, Trump's comments have renewed fears in Europe that the U.S. would be an unreliable ally if Vladimir Putin decided to invade a NATO member country.
NATO cannot be a la carte military alliance, cannot be a military alliance that works depending on the humor of the president of the U.S. on those days.
In the wake of Trump's comments, the chief of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, said he expected the U.S. to remain in NATO regardless of who wins the election in November. But it's widely thought that Trump would seek to withdraw from the alliance if elected to a second term, even though the U.S. Congress has taken steps recently to make it harder for a U.S. president to do so unilaterally.
A new bill allowing authorities to confiscate the property of Russians convicted of deliberately spreading what is deemed as fake news about Russia's armed forces could soon become a law.
Says the measure is just an attempt to hide the truth about Russia's war crimes.
The Russian government wants to project a myth about the Russian army's activities in Ukraine. They want to deny the war crimes. They want to hide the failures. And so they will punish people who break those myths.
Andrew Wood, an expert on Russian policy at London-based Chatham House, says it's important that the authorities create an illusion of mass support for Putin.
Opinion in Russia of the futile achievements that they had from the war and the reasons that it started, like complaints of people who have relatives or husbands or whatever at the front against what is being done. It's increased. And I think that Putin himself is a bit more conscious of the fact that his hold is not as big as it has been on the Russian population.
Experts like Herbst and Wood say mass property confiscation is unlikely, but they expect the government to target individuals who criticize the war.
In our sports news, after the four teams being Mbabane Highlanders, Mbabane Swallows, Young Buffaloes and Green Mamba getting qualification to the semi-finals, supporters have predicted that it would be better to have a Mbabane derby in the semi-finals of the tournament, which will automatically give one of them to get to the finals of the tournament. It's 27 minutes before 8. We've come to the end of our bulletin. Thank you for staying with us. Asasel Kefu, Sawi Okonamanje.
We are selling peanuts at 5. Thank you so much. Find the scratch, baby.
ukuze sinamukele ehlelweni lesikhathanyalo sida ukuxhumana na-government spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo regarding a prevailing question esiyibonako-ke from most of eMaswati, particularly on social media, ngendzaba ye-tripartite task team that was announced by His Excellency the Premier of the land, Russell Miso Dlamini, ekuthenini-ke leyo task team itaw assista ekulweni nenkhohlakalo lapha eveni. This task team will report directly to the Prime Minister's office and then will work hand in hand with the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. And part of the task team is the Anti-Corruption Commission. Ekuthenini-ke kubanjiswane kuliwe nabo bucala nesilo semhlaba-ke lesivetile ngalesihlanu ukuthi akube indzaba lesenjetwa ngematubane kulandzela ukuthi sive siyikhulume kanengi esibayeni ukuthi yindzaba vele leyi-concern kakhulu. We do want to connect Nyalo, the government spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo, to address the prevailing question ekuthenini, what is the difference really from the task team and the Anti-Corruption Commission? Most people are sharing the sentiment it is sort of a redundant development emsebentini wayo EACC uma-ke kuba nale culmination yale task team lena. Nguni, welcome to the program, even though it is a short notice. Thank you so much for honoring our invite to the program. Ngabe kuphendvula nje lo mbuto lona angatsini uhulumende?
Siyabonga kakhulu msakathi kusinika lithuba lekuthi siwuphendule lo mbuto. Naloku nje itolo ndunankulu welive na Attorney General welive batinikile isikhathi uphendula lo mbuto. Sithatha ngekuthi kucacile kubo betindzaba nakumhlaba na umhlonishwa ndunankulu abika lelibandla lesibita ngekuthi i-task force. I-task force nebekunene mhlambe umuntu akaqala nje na udefine leli gama lekuthi yini i-task force. I-task force does not render umsebenzi walenye i-organ redundant. Nakwakhiwa lelona lelibandla le-ACC nje ngabekisa nebekunene abevela khona amaphoyisa asebenza waphenya emacaleni ngohlakalo naloko naloko. Ayizange i-ACC ngebukhona bayo bese igwinya umsebenzi wemaphoyisa noma seyenda umsebenzi wemaphoyisa obe redundant. Coming directly to the question lebutwa siveke kwekuthi yini umsebenzi wale task force. I-task force nebekunene libandla sigejanyana selibandla leyayisibekelwe kusukela indzaba lesithile lephuthumako. Lesigejanyana asithatha umsebenzi walamabandla nome lama structures lavela are intact nala constitutional lasebendako. I-task force iyaye idonse babili bathathu lapha ku-ACC, idonse babili bathathu lapha emaphoyiseni, idonse babili kathathu lapha ka-public persecution. Angibekise-ke mhlambe ngilese umcondo wekuthi uqhamuka bonke lo mcondo wale task force. Kwekuqala le task force ayisiyisha beyikhona kulelive ngiyabekisa nje ikakhulu ngesikhathi sandunankulu Barnabas Sibusiso Dlamini. Iyayikhona le task force yaseke ihamba iphelelwa i-functionality nekuthi mhlambe kwabonakala kwangathi i-ACC umsebenzi wayo seyiwuthethe. Lokubonakele ke lo mhla kwekuthi undunankulu welive lokhona akayivusetele le task force ikakhulu kugijimisa lonkwewe ukuthi i-corruption kubonakala ukuthi seyalicwilisa lelive. Le task force ke nebekunene italwa kwekuthi laba baka-ACC bathi siwaphenyile macala sesimnikile public persecution. Public persecution ukhanzeka ukuthi cha ukhona bakulethile vele kodwa ke kuceda kakhulu in terms of evidence. Kuthi ungakuthatha lokhu yokuma nawe enkantolo uthi ngiyambopha nangu Alpheus Nxumalo utholakala enta inkohlakalo le evidence ingabe enough. Manje kwabonakala ukuthi akube nale task force le kutawuba nemehlo lamathathu ukubukisana lamacala hayi selivuthiwe maseli nje sengaba ngalithatha baka public persecution baye nalo enkantolo. nalawo lokubonakala emacala simhlambe ahamba kancane le task force especially from iwing yemaphoyisa ne-ACC kubanjiswane aphuthunywe lamacala kunalokuthi uthathe isikhathi leside kuthiwa kuyaphenywa. Angibekise nje lokunye okutafast track lo msebenzi wekuphenya lamacala e-corruption. Le task force iba netimadlana tayo letisebenzisako kuze igijimise lo msebenzi wendawo. Akufanani netimali esokhanza sitibhajwe ukuthi ufuna kuyojikwa kuphi kubo treasurer kwendiweni emaminute uhambeke kancane lo msebenzi. La bavele bathi yothu nakhona into lephuthumako bathola imali edutane bahambe bawenda lo msebenzi kungene emacala atekwe enkantolo ajutshwe ngesikhathi. It is basically to collaborate the efforts of ensuring ukuthi emacala corruption in this country are fast-tracked, both from the process of investigation, process of collecting enough evidence, producing and submitting the same to public persecution. Any public persecution has been given a clear instruction by His Excellency, the Prime Minister, that cases such as this one should be fast-tracked. They must be given in priority by the Office of the Public Persecution. So lilakhelwe etikwalo mgomo lelibandla mnguni ngiyethemba ukuthi nami sengelekelele ukucacisa etikwalo kuvele ndunankulu besakucacisile idolo bana attend general relief.
Thank you so much, Mnguni. We certainly did learn that there is the political will to support the task team, Lena, and Prime Minister did say, let's give them a chance. He pleaded with the nation, let's give them a chance. We do hope there will be now, the public will as well, just as much as there is the political will. Just like you have said, how corruption has crippled, the development of the country. Alpheus Ngumalo, government spokesperson, just shining more light on the prevailing question. Let's see, does the culmination of the task team render redundant the existence of the ACC? Sathembe ukuthi ke babukeli bakhonile kuva bacaciseleka lapho bangacacisele khona. Sitawuchubeka ke nehlelo sibahlelo emarket nasibuya we speak to Fisiwe Vilane from Eswatini Communications Commission nge World Radio Day.
Residents of Simunye and surrounding areas are notified that intense TV license door-to-door inspections are being conducted in the region. The exercise starts on the 19th to the 28th of February 2024. Stay alert. Our TV license inspectors will be wearing Eswatini TV gear and will have tags that confirm their identity. Don't be scammed. Our inspectors do not ask for cash payments. Pay your TV license only at specified pay points or call us on 34050163 or 78024545 for more information. Alternatively, you can send a WhatsApp message to 76222000 and we'll chat with you. Pay your TV license today, enhance the industry.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007*3*7#, or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any Nedbank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
All right, it's 15 minutes before 8, Lomuhla Ekseni. Let's welcome Fisiwe Vilane from Eswatini Communications Commission on an interesting topic. Today is World Radio Day, and UNESCO says the medium of radio is very important in allowing diversity and humanity, and also just, a platform for communication, nation building, as well as kwakhiwa kwebantu. Welcome to the program, Fisiwe. Langa lelimcwa kakhulu siyathi ukuthi ning Eskom ne regulator communication lapha even, and you do have the frequency spectrum under your wing. Lapho khona nakhona niyaba monitor, nishuishe ama licenses thide, niba regulator nje vele as an umbrella word. Engabe such a day that is so important, and it's coming from someone who is in the media space, who is in the communications space. I do see how we have particularly, pretty much the same role as radio. Engabe lusuku lelifana naleli as a commission, lusuku lelimcwa kangakanani ke?
Ngiyabonga ngivusele Sifiso ngiphindze ngivusele nembukeli ekhaya. Uqinisile lilanga leli vele nathi lesi dithinzitha ngalo sijabule kokuthi manje ke selifikile lilanga le World Radio Day. Akusilo ke lilanga leligujwa la khaya kuphela. Inhlaba wonke namuhla mhlabuhlangene uthi asibuke lichaza ledlalwa ngumsakazo we-wireless kokuthi watise bamfu emakhaya, kokuthi ujabulise bamfu emakhaya, kokuthi ufundzise bamfu emakhaya. Uqinisile umsakazo we-wireless nguwo kakhulu lo wendlula yonke leminye imisakazo. Ngendeka angikhona ukuthi ngibe na sigujana noma kumbe ngibe nayo iTV ekhaya, kepha iradio ngitawukhona kokuthi manje ke kumbe ngiyilalele. Ngekwethembeka ke futhi siyathi ukuthi kulamalanga sekunebuchwephesha lokuthi sekunabo social media ukuthi bamfuthi indzaba baditfola yonke indzawo, kepha uma ngabe indzaba ingakakhulunywe eradweni esikhatsini lesiningi ukhanza lokho ukuthi manje ke kuba khona lokuthi asengiyihlole ukuthi vele iliciniso mbamba yini. Lokusho ukuthi it does remain the most trusted source of information radio all over the world. Nakithi ke akhona ema-wireless ethu lesinawo nje ema-licensed broadcasters lakakhona ka-radio ahlukene ke ngetindlela letehlukene. Nathi singumlawuli wetekuchumana sithi siyajabula, sithi futhi litfuba lokuthi nathi kangwane sihalalise lo msebenzi lomuhle lebawendako, nekwekuthi sibuke ukuthi ingabe singakhulisa njani kumbe sithuthukise tekusakata nge-wireless Eswatini.
It's quite interesting umenshina indzaba yokuthi radio, we could say, is the most prevalent communications medium lapha even lakangwane. Engabe nisamonitor and sasebenzisana nabo nisaba regulator, are they still fulfilling their mandate? Are you satisfied as a regulatory body with the work that they are doing, and how hopefully in the near future as a Saqhubeka's developer with the advent of social media, how can they continue to be relevant, and are they fulfilling their mandate?
Ngingasho ke nje ngekuthi iqhinya lokukhulu kokuthi vele umsakazo wethu we-wireless Eswatini silive kithi usese relevant. Kukhona lokunye lokungachamuka lapha nalapha kepha nje bamfu basawulalela umsakazo wabo. Kuleti teshi lesinato siyathi ukuthi manje ke kunetiteshi letimbili liphimbo lelibandla kaManzini, phindze futhi ukhona umsakazo wethu la Eswatini iBIS, kuphindze futhi kukhona nemsakazo weMmango sibita nge-community radio lokungu-UNESWA FM. Bonke laba banethi inhlangothi letihlukene ngisho kanjalo labatendako kepha nje kuleti imvo letintsatfu lengitibalile kufundzisa kukhona kwatisa kukhona kujabulisa kukhona bonke bobathathu bayakwenda ngalomgomo kumbe lobekwe kulemvumo yabo ukuthi kufuna ukuthi bakwende kanjani sibonge kakhulu nje umsebenzi lomuhle lebachubekako bawende siphindze sibakhuthate ukuthi nathi singumlawuli wetechumana sikhona ukuthi sibasekele sikhona ukuthi sibaside ukuthi vele noma kanjani ingafi i-wireless kepha ichubeke indlondlobalo.
Yeah, it seems like there's quite the you are intentional ekuthenini babe well rounded sabala nje letinhlangothi netinkambiso ngekwehlukana kwato ukuthi khona maybe from the church perspective, from the entertainment perspective, as well from the educational perspective. What is the importance of that? Why should we have the diversity in that?
Ngalokho ukuthi bamvu bahlukene ngako uma ngabe mine kumbe ngingasiye lo muntu lofuna kuva letenkolo sengithi uma ngivula i-wireless yami khanze ukuthi ngilete enkolo sonke isikhathi sekuyangenta lokho ukuthi manje ke ngingasafuni ukuthi ngilalele i-wireless uma ngabe ngingumfana esikolwa noma kumbe ngihlala kumathapha ngifuna kuva tindzaba takumathapha mangilalela umsakado wasembabane kumbe atisiko kakhulu tindzaba takumathapha tindzaba te live lonke ukhanze lokho ukuthi nami sengisalela emuva lokusho ukuthi khokhwa letimvume tekwekuthi bakhone ukuthi ba-operate noma basebende kuyadzinga lokuthi sibuke ukuthi lonke eliswati kukhona lapho lelisikeleke khona kokuthi likhone ukuthola isito lendzaba ye-wireless dinenge tinhlelo lesingumlawuli wetechumana kokuthi sibatfutfukise ngeminyaka nje uma ngabe senta hlelo lethu leminyaka yafuna lokho ukuthi vele ingasalele emuva i-wireless siyabuka lokho ukuthi yini lesingayenda engingasho lokho ukuthi tithelo taloko siyadibona vele ngekuhamba kwemalanga.
And certainly it is quite an interesting space. I'm speaking because I exist in it myself. I understand Auhambi Wetwa. You're with Mobile Nzinisa, who is a journalism and mass communications lecturer at UNESWA. UNESWA does have UNESWA FM. They focus on Kulu at Inhlangotsini, Tegufunzi. So we do want to, delve into that aspect as well with Mobile after that break.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze
being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula
nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusembili
Ujala masada mahle kunakho lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokho
sivile sive sikhulume.
Let's welcome Ngobile Nzinisa. She's a journalism and mass communications lecturer at UNESWA. Welcome to the program, Ngobile. Quite an interesting development at UNESWA, seeing the studio that you have now, where you even have a radio station, so to speak. I think it's relatively new. How old is it?
It's less than 5 years old. We were lucky to get a license from the Eswatini Communications Commission in around 2015 or so. So we couldn't operationalize it because we didn't have equipment. But the university has ties with many stakeholders in the country. So with the help of the American embassy, we were able to revamp our studio. So now it's running and we are able to operationalize.
So who gets to work there? Who gets to work? Can I work there myself? No, it's in-house, it's for the students' development.
Well, so UNESCO FM is primarily run by journalism students.
Okay.
So those who major in broadcasting run it. They operationalize it. But because we're a community broadcasting station, we allow volunteers. So people from Matapa are able to come in and practice, learn skills in radio broadcasting, as well as students in other departments and faculties.
Okay, let's talk about the academia and skills development part of radio in Eswatini, just that broadcasting space. How important is it? Celebrate World Radio Day.
Yes, so it is very important to have skilled broadcasters because this field is changing so much.
Yeah.
And over and above that, it's also journalism, which is also seeing a lot of misinformation and disinformation. So it's important that journalists are trained properly in the right context and in the right environment where they're getting skills, but also aware of the dangers that come from misinformation and things like that.
Yeah. So talk to me about the enrollment now. I know that journalism is probably even older than me.
True.
As a cause, a UNESCO. It's been there for many years.
True.
Come on, Mobile. But the radio part of it, the enrollment, now that you even have the studio, are we seeing the appetite grow as the years go by? Because we do want to see this industry grow.
True. So with the enrollment, you're right that the program is old, but the program has gone through a lot of changes. Even the specialization in broadcasting wasn't always there because we had a diploma before. We now offer a degree in journalism and mass comm. So students who do broadcasting are able to get those hands-on skills. Enrollment is growing. We were just speaking to some young people back on Lake Matapa. They're very interested in how the business of radio works, and they've shown an interest in enrolling in the coming session that's going to start soon at UNESCO. Yeah. So there's lots of good prospects for broadcasting coming up.
You know, I just spoke to Kusile and we are talking about the advent of social media. And, you know, I wouldn't say a threat that it has posed to, you know, mainstream media. But how do you ascertain relevance in the wake of social media?
So that's a very good question. We train our students to be able to verify information. And so what we've done for us is to use social media as a link with the radio station. So we train them that we are going to have the radio station, but you're going to also link with social media. So shout out whatever you want to say, shout out whatever you say, but in all the things that you're saying, verification is very important because you cannot run with something just because you saw one person talking about it on social media. So that's the element of journalism that we need our students to understand.
Well done with the developments that you continue to have
so
as
much.
an institution at UNESCO. Abafundi siyathemba ukuthi batawukhula vele babe bonsonto nzima kutekusakata. It is Ngobile Nzinisa. She's a journalism and mass communications lecturer at UNESCO. We had Kusile as well from the Eswatini Communications Commission. Today is World Radio Day, so we do encourage you to say I'm 17 lapha emotweni. Nangabe bamekudlala isiti na ungamanager namhla ulalele umsakato ulalele nababolindelwa amafa ulalele na UNESCO FM. Na misakato nje lesinayo lapha eveni nasemakhaya namhlanje singathi nje siyalalela imisakato sikhule ngayo ke imisakato Nqobile. So yeah, sithemba ukuthi amasatha atawenda njalo na lo muhla sitaba hlelo market sitabuya sivala ihlelo masinyane.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience in the kingdom.
because sesifika ephethelweni ehlelo lethu lo mflight World Radio Day nilalela umsakazo kodwa nje ningakhohlwa ukubukela Eswatini TV nisakwenda lokho sale kahle sidabona nakusasa.